Hi, my name is Alan Stafford for the Photography Lighting School, and today's lesson I'm going to show you how to make a homemade grid spot. Something like this here that fits onto the end of your flash unit. Allows you to control the light and isolate it and use it pretty much for portraits like this one here. Or you can use it for product shots or anything where you need to be able to control the light. I'm going to assume that you understand what a grid spot is. If you don't, check the lesson notes on the home page, and I go into more detail as to what a grid spot is and when you want to use it, or when you want to use it basically, or when it's a good idea to use it. Okay, what you're going to want to do is start with a flash unit. This happens to be a Nikon SB600. Doesn't matter what kind of a flash you have, as long as you have one that has a rectangular head, flash head like this one here, whether it be Canon or Nikon. Some additional other tools you're going to need are some black straws. I've seen people use white straws. The reason we're using black straws is you get a sharper light, a more focused light once it exits the shaft. If you're using white straws, you're going to get more of a feathered light, which will actually spread slightly. And I like to have more of a focused light when I'm using grid spots. A pair of scissors here, any pair of scissors will do. I use an X-Acto blade to cut with. Be sure you have adult supervision if you're not an adult to use this. A measuring tape, something that you can wrap around your flash head with, so you can measure the end of the flash head, because that's real critical. I've made several of these grid spots and have come up short, so you want to make sure you can actually wrap that around and get the exact measurements. Some sort of ruler to measure with and cut with. This one happens to be a metal ruler. Crazy glue. I'm using crazy glue to put this together. I've tried Elmer glue. Elmer glue just does not work. It doesn't hold as well. I've seen people use glue guns. It can get a little messy. You can get a little space in between your straws. So I found that crazy glue works the best. Some gaffer's tape or electrician's tape. It allows you to tape the ends like I have in this one here. I've taped the end of this here. I can remove it without tearing up my piece of cardboard. The white part here is one where I happen to actually measure a little short, and I had to unglue it or tear it apart with an X-Acto blade. So that's why you're seeing that. That's why I say give yourself about a quarter, maybe more of a maybe about half an inch when you're measuring, and I'll go over that in a second. And the last thing you're going to need, well, actually, there's two other things. You might want to invest in a cutting board if you're going to do this, or if you have a surface where you can cut on, that if it gets damaged, you're okay with a blade, that's fine. But I recommend a cutting board. And then you're going to want to get some of this here, either poster board, black poster board, maybe some black cardboard that you can bend. This one seems to be a little soft, but it still works. You can pick these up at the Five and Dime store. Actually, Five and Dime stores don't exist anymore. At a local, a Michael's, a craft store, a drug store of some sorts, a school supply store. I've seen some people use cereal boxes or just cardboard boxes, packaging boxes. That's fine as well. Keep in mind, the reason again I'm using the black is so I have more of a focused light. The lighter your material, the more feathered your light is going to be once it exits the shaft. So that's up to you. It's your own personal lighting preference and what you plan on doing with your grid spot. Oh, and then one other thing here. I forgot, or did I mention it? Black straws. I think I might have mentioned it, and if I didn't, sorry. But you can pick these up. I picked up a whole box of these here at Smart and Final. Most of your box stores might have these, or restaurant supply stores. You can buy them online as well, and so forth. And that is the material that you're going to need to create a homemade grid spot. Now I have two of them here. One's a long one, one's a short one. The short one, or actually we'll start with the long one. The long one has more of a focused light. I can control the light a little bit more as far as getting a precise spot. The shorter one, again, is going to give me more of a spread when it comes to lighting. They're both going to do the job. They're going to focus the light, But again, one's going to be more focused, and that's the long one versus the shorter one. Again, decide which one you want to do or make several. I tend to use the longer ones more because of the work that I do. However, you know, the shorter ones do come in handy as well. Alrighty, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our flash head and we're going to measure the distance around the front of the flash head. It looks like we have 7 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to probably cut off about 10 inches here. Measure it 10 inches so this way I have enough overlap, and if I need to, I can go ahead and trim it down. This way I have enough to actually overlap because I've come up short in the past for some reason. But nevertheless, we'll solve that problem by giving ourselves about 1.5 inches or more. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is take this here used piece of poster board that I've purchased at a drugstore here. You can buy these here, like I said before, at any drugstore, office supply store, any place that sells school supplies, again, or you can use a cereal box if you like. But we're going to measure, what did I say, 10 inches. We're going to go ahead and measure 10 inches. Start here, let's see, 10 inches, ready? And let's see, we'll go to right about this line here. It's another good reason to use a mat. Cutting mat. Most of your cutting mats will have these little grid spots here, or grid squares in this case, which will allow me to line up my straight edge. You can use a pair of scissors if you want. However, I prefer using the X-Acto blade. So I'm just going to go ahead and start up here at the top and cut all the way down. And I'm going to just kind of trace over that cut just to make sure I got it good. All right, it looks like it's a good clean cut. For this particular one, a grid spot, I'm going to go ahead and do a short one. So we'll probably measure up about 4 inches or so. I use this here ruler, and let's see, 4 inches is right about there. Let's grab our grid, make a little mark, and there we go. Let's cut out the rest of this. We'll line it up. There's my little mark there. We'll line it up, line the edges up, grab the ruler, make sure everything's nice and straight. And again, like I said, you could use a pair of scissors or a straight edge. I mean, an X-Acto blade, so you get a straight edge. With a pair of scissors, you might not have steady hands like me and come away with a kind of a crisscross or an up and down pattern. There we go. So we can test to see if I measured correctly, because I'm pretty notorious for not measuring correctly. And we'll just wrap it around. And look at that. I've got some room to trim right here, which I will do. I'll trim it right about right there with a pair of scissors. This time I'll use a pair of scissors because it's just a flap and it doesn't really matter. There we go. We cut that off. All right. There we go. We have our piece of cardboard. Okay, next what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of form the piece of cardboard. I'm going to form the piece of cardboard to my flash head. Let's bring it up right about there. I'm just pinching in the edges there. So this way I can move my flash head to the side, and now I can see, you can see I have little creases here, which I'm going to use to fold over to make up my edges. Like this. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. There's my top, which fits right in there, and the sides. See, perfect. It might be somewhat of a medium size. Again, we can cut this shorter if we wanted to, or we can leave it leave it this size here, which I think for this demonstration purposes, I'll go ahead and leave it this size here. Okay, now that we have our cardboard cut out and folded, and we know the edges, or we know where the edges are going to be, I'm going to set these here aside, the flash aside, and we're going to grab some straws here, our black straws, and I'm going to cut those down to size. I'm going to cut those down to about, let's say, looks like probably about 1 inch in length. I'm going to kind of guesstimate this, or estimate it, about that size there. Watch out because your straws will go flying. So this is about the size. I'm going to cut the, see, can you see that there? Yeah, I'm going to cut it to about that size. We don't need a whole lot because remember, once we put the flash head on the grid spot and trip the flash, all we need is just a channel to go through. It could even be smaller, but it won't be as manageable in this case here. So what I'll do is I'll try to cut them down to about the same size. And let's see, keep cutting. Alrighty, we're about done here. I cut more than I actually needed, but I know for the SB600, the size for that one, it's going to take about 35 or so little pieces of straws. But there we go. But it doesn't hurt to have a few extra pieces because you can always use it to build another grid spot with, okay? Alrighty, I'm going to move these to the side here. Let's move those black pieces to the side. I'm going to grab here. If you're wondering what this white spot is, it's just a piece of the black that was torn off. It could have been some tape I had placed on there. Sometimes I use these cardboards, these poster boards, as flags to flag off the light so it doesn't flare up or bleeding over on the camera lens. And this happened to be one of those pieces of cardboards, poster boards that I used for that, so I had some tape on there. And unfortunately, it was not the gaffer's tape. It was just some regular duct tape that I'd used. So it came off, no big deal. It's not going to be on the inside anyway, and I'm going to have some black straws over it. So now the next thing we're going to do, we're going to take our black straws here. I'm going to grab my super glue, and hopefully the super glue here is not it's not dried out. I have a habit of leaving this stuff open. So let's go ahead and close that real quick. This is actually crazy glue. I apologize. Super glue, crazy glue, same stuff. Just don't get it on your fingers because then you'll be you'll stick your fingers together. All right, let's see here. Now the reason I'm not going to close this up like this and then do it like some people have shown is that it becomes very difficult to do. So I'm going to leave my cardboard open like this here, and I'm going to take some super glue, or crazy glue in this case. I'm going to glue the bottom of this here like that. Let's go ahead and move this back over here. Move it to this side. And where did I put it? There we go. I'm going to go ahead and set it in here like this here. Just like that. I'm going to leave a little bit on the outside. I placed it in right here at the crease. Okay, and what I'll do later on is I'll glue the sides. But for now I won't do that. I'm going to add some more. Add some more glue to the base here. And then set it in. Trying to keep it off of my fingers. Sometimes it's easier said than done. Set it in there. And sometimes you're going to want to go ahead and glue the side here too, so it has a better chance of sticking. Let's get this one down. Okay, there you go. Okay, I've added the last piece in, and I'm going to go ahead and shut this. What I'm going to do is grab my my flash unit first and kind of size it up, make sure it all fits in. There we go. Looks good right about there. Tighten it right about there. I'm going to grab some of this here gaffer's tape or electrician's tape. Again, this stuff is great to have in your lighting toolkit because it tears off easily. Let's see if we can get a smaller piece there. It tears off real easy. It does not leave a residue, and it does not tear up anything like chip the paint off a wall if you're going to use it. Let's see, we're going to bring that in like that. And we'll get another piece. And again, I did this fairly quickly to show you. So it's kind of messy, but in any event, it still works the same. It slides over. And there you go. You get a homemade grid spot that you can use to focus your light on your portraits or your product shots.